Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, walillahi alhamd. Subhanallah, subhanallah, Nabi Muhammad alayhi salam. A'udhu billahi min shaitan rajim, bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Malata shaitan al-awliya. Alhamdulillah bil alameen. When Allah Almighty brought us to this life, and this is what most of us have forgotten, that someone brought us here. Someone sustains us while we're here, and someone takes us out of this life. And yet, we think that our parents bring us here, and it is our own mentality that sustains us here, and it is due to something else that the reason why we have to leave. Our thinking has been limited to only our heads. There's a reason why Allah Almighty gave human beings a mind. There's a reason why Allah Almighty gave human beings hearts. And like we always say, the furthest distance in the universe is not the Earth to the furthest galaxy, but the conflict and the distances between the mind and our hearts. And Shaitan knows this very well. Shaitan, a'udhu billahi min shaitan rajim. Allah Almighty says, seek refuge in Allah against the cursed devil, because he is a worthy adversary. Don't think that we are a competition for him if we're not seeking refuge in Allah Almighty against the accursed devil. His reality is that he is the gatekeeper. He is the one that stands between us and our reality. And he said, if you're going to get to Allah Almighty, if you bad enough to get to Allah Almighty, you got to go through me. And that's what he's saying. But obviously, unfortunately, Shaitan is kicking much butt. Because most of us are not able to get past him. We are deceived by the shadows of deception of this life. We get so busy in this life with the fame and fortune of this life that we forget that we got to leave out of here. No one gets out alive. No one stays here. Just think, from the time of Adam and Eve, if everybody was still on earth, you couldn't walk. Everybody be standing still. We come here. Everyone that made a promise to Allah Almighty gets an opportunity to keep their promise. The promise is, oh Allah, I'm never going to set up a partner to you. Oh Allah, I'm always going to be an obedient servant. Oh Allah, I'm not going to listen to Shaitan. I'm not going to obey Shaitan. I'm not going to obey my ego. I'm not going to obey my desires. I'm not going to be seducing to this world. And I'm not going to listen to Shaitan. That's the promise. Allah says, okay, I will not leave you without guidance to assist you in keeping that promise. Allah never left us without guidance. If no one physically came to us, we still have a conscience. That conscience in us knows the difference between what we do that harms us and that we do that does not harm us. When Allah Almighty says in Surah Yasin, He starts it out, A'udhu billahi min shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Yasin. Yasin. He says Yasin. When he says Yasin, it's like interpret bow wow. In other words, it's not something that you have a definition for through a mentality. It's a sound that resonates through the heavens and through the earth, through one's being, to open up our being to something much greater than we can ever imagine through our mentality. Then he talks about the wisdom of the Quran. The Quran being full of wisdom. And he's addressing beloved Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, and I'm sending you as a messenger to people who have lost their guidance because their fathers lost their guidance. And they're not aware, and they have forgotten about that promise. So I'm sending you to remind them that they have a promise that they made. And there's retribution, and there is a revenge for not keeping that promise. Allah Almighty takes care of us, sends us the oxygen. No one comes in this life without the oxygen. It was here before we came here. It's here when we leave. Allah gave us everywhere with them. We come here through the passageway of our father and mother. And then we come into this life. As soon as we come out the womb of our mother, we say the first thing a baby cries is Allah. Because Shaitan is right there as the baby is coming out. This is a sound. No one can interpret the sound because it's not something for the intellect. It is something that resonates from the earth, from the heavens through the earth, to the beings of those who have kept their promise. To reunite our whole being to be in total submission to the will of our Creator, to be able to represent the highest quality of living and be the best of people evolved for mankind. Those servants that Allah Almighty send, that they become obedient servants to Allah Almighty, Allah promised, in keeping our promise, that He will give them the power to say be, and it is. That is such an awesome level to be existing on. To have that power. So Allah is really saying, in reality, you really don't need nothing of the earth. All you need is your Lord. Your Lord is sufficient. If Allah is giving you the power to say be, and it is, why would anything be able to enslave you or threaten you in this life? Why would Shaitan have a whisper in your ear? Why would your desires be able to take you out of sync with your Lord's desires for you? Why would your ego make you, lead you into places of setting partners to Allah Almighty? People don't realize that when we follow our ego, we are setting up partners to Allah. It's not shirk that you're following someone. The shirk is our ego that you don't follow someone that Allah Almighty has put in position to guide us. And we don't get it. And so all of us, individually and collectively, we suffer from the hands of Shaitan and our desires, the tricks of this world, and the more so than that, the real tricks of our own nerves. that we sleep with all the time. We're always with ourselves 24/7, but we understand very little about ourselves. We have to realize that when Allah Almighty is sending trials and tribulations on us, this is wudu for the soul. It's like taking a bath. When you take a bath of hot water and soap, it's a cleaning. When you start to remember Allah through your mind and reading Quran and meditating, it's a cleaning of our minds. But when Allah Almighty sends trials and tribulations on us, it is a wudu for our souls. Because any test has no logical thinking in our minds as to what is this? How can we even, in cleansing, how can we even define what is cleaning? It's a way of life of continuing doing what Allah Almighty is saying for us to do so that we may reach to the station that Allah Almighty has intended to us to be able to represent Him, so that we see with the eyes of Allah, we speak with the tongue of Allah, we strike with the hands of Allah, we hear with the ears of Allah. We begin to represent Allah Almighty not only on earth but in the heavens. Then Allah Almighty establishes us in strength and power in the land, in which we call the people to remembrance of their own selves, their own reality. And Allah says, listen to those who ask no reward from you. They are only trying to wake us up so that we will not fall into the tricks and traps of Satan to live a miserable life. Allah wants us to be happy. He doesn't say, don't be happy. He wants us to be happy. He wants us to be joyous. He wants us to celebrate. Why would someone follow someone who is unhappy, who is sad, who is miserable, who's beat down, who hides behind their vices, that they cannot be a clear sign? Allah says, oh Muhammad, I'm sending you, Allah be pleased with him, as a clear sign to those who have lost their way because their fathers had no guidance. They are lost. And I'm sending you as my heart to them to reach their hearts.
Takbir!
Allahu Akbar!
Takbir!
Allahu Akbar!
Takbir!
Allahu Akbar! Ha! Because Allah Almighty is saying, I'm sending the Fatiha, the 7 oft-repeated verses, and the Grand Quran. He's sending the key to open up the book of wisdom. The key to opening up the book of knowledge is the heart. If it's defiled, if it's decrepit, if it's dark, we cannot see. The basis of every miracle comes out the heart in the way of that love and connection to divine presence. Those people are not like us. They live on a whole new existence. They are here among us and eating and drinking and sleeping and procreating, but their hearts are with their Lord. They're in total seclusion all the time because their hearts are not in this world. They're so busy, it doesn't make sense to put them in a box and hold them away from people. They are among people and their hearts are with Allah Almighty. They are something else. Allah says, obey me, obey the Prophet, and obey those who I sent among you. If you love them, you're loving me. If you obey them, you obey me. We will fear them. Shaitan fears them. And Shaitan says, I don't have no power over them. I don't have no power over them. Because Allah Almighty's grace is on them. They're not tricked by this dunya, so what can I do? I can't threaten them with the dunya. I can't threaten them with their sustenance. They ask only their Lord for their sustenance. I can't threaten them by killing them and attacking them, because if I think bad thoughts about them, before I can even think, God, Allah Almighty has put a sword on my neck. If I harm them, Allah harms me. They are Allah Almighty's people. And Allah Almighty sends them out to bring His people to Him. And the worst tragedy is not to recognize them when they come to us. That means we are deaf, dumb, and blind. Allah says it's the same whether you warn them or don't warn them. They won't see. But if there's any good in any of us, Allah Almighty says, I will make them to listen. And that's why we should be quiet. Learn to be quiet. Learn to listen. And learn to observe. And then learn to apply the best of good advice. Then when trials and tribulations come on you, they are resistance training to take you up. And if we are disobeying Allah Almighty, when those trials and tribulations come on us, it is to take us down as a punishment. Allah Almighty is not no joke. We are here. We're witnessing to Allah Almighty's power. We don't have to get hung up in synthetic things in our being to make us feel an illusion that we're close to the Creator. And even if we are around those servants of Allah Almighty, it is a protection. They are a shelter for us. What happened to Musa alayhi salam? When those people with him, they were able to go through the Red Sea when it parted. Those who were not with him, the Red Sea drowned them. Those people who would know alayhi salam were able to get in the ark. Those people who were not with him, they drowned. So, when Allah Almighty says, obey me, obey the Prophet, and those I'm putting in authority, Allah is always going to have guidance among human beings. That's what He's saying. And even though Yasin is addressing beloved Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is addressing all of those who are connected to his heart. To his heart. So anything that's addressed to beloved Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is also addressed to the Rasul. The Rasul is the present continuous of that light that emanates from beloved Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that's why there's no more needs for any other prophets. Because now Allah Almighty connects human beings to His heart, and they act out that legacy and that sunnah and practice of the Prophet. Takbir! Allahu Akbar! Because if Allah Almighty says that those who are slain in the way of Allah are not dead, and those are martyrs, those are people who are obedient servants to Allah Almighty, and there's no death for them because of their obedience, what about prophets? And what about beloved Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who's a seal of the Prophet? Allah says he's a seal. No more need for prophets, because his light, all the prophets were taken to his light, and the sign that he was a seal is when he physically was manifested to take his lights, his inheritance. And when he made his Isra Miraj, 2 bowlings from Allah, he asked Allah for his nation. and everybody of it is of his nation, Jews, Christians, and there were no Muslims, atheists, everybody of his nation. When Allah Almighty sent him with that revelation, everybody, when he came on the scene, everybody is of his nation, even during this time, from that time, even if we go to the moon. So he said from his nation, "Oh Allah, give to my nation what you're giving to me." And Allah says, only if they're going to be like you. And I will give them what I gave 124,000 prophets, plus what I'm giving you. Takbir! That means that we can be in that scenario. We can inherit that if we keep our promise. But we keep allowing Shaitan to trick us and make us crazy, to put us on synthetics, to break us down, have us behind bars or in hospitals and shutting us down or killing each other. That's not the life Allah Almighty has chosen for us. That's the life that Shaitan wants for us. People say, Allah don't love me. Why? Because of all the crime. No, you mean your father had no guidance. Therefore, we are not guided. But it doesn't mean Allah won't send us guidance. The guidance now is here. Takbir! 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 It's going to sweep like wildflower, like a fire, a forest fire, from east to west, north to south. There's no global warming, there's global changes now. The change is in motion as we speak. Why do you think we're here, gathered here today? We're alive and we're in here today. Doesn't matter what we've done and what we didn't do. We're here now. We can change what we're going to do. This is the mercy and power of Allah Almighty. That's why Allah orders us to come to Jumu'ah. To remember me so I remember you. Remind you of your promise. And show you the signs. Hoping that we recognize the sign that's going to take us where we need to go. We're not concubines for Shaitan. We ain't Shaitan's prostitutes. You're going to be a man or woman for Allah, or a faggot, or a concubine for Shaitan. That's it, that's all. To call us anytime to do what he wants us to do against our will, to shut us down and make us, humiliate us. Anyone that exalts himself, Allah Almighty will humiliate us. Anybody that's humble themselves, Allah will exalt us. Humility is not weakness. It's a strength. If we approach Allah Almighty divine presence with humility, then Allah Almighty exalts us and establishes a strength and power in the land. So we're keeping our promise. Where are the real promise keepers? The real ones, not the ones that fake ones. We have a job to do. We have a mission. And we have to start with ourselves. We have to first of all kill that's in ourselves. We got to kill those characteristics of Shaitan in ourselves, that anger, that envy, that pride, that stubbornness. And we have to hear and obey the truth through those whom Allah Almighty sent among us that ask no reward from us. Because our fathers had no guidance. We're lost. And we're going to see big changes. We're asking Allah Almighty to forgive us here and after one Lord Tawfiq al-Fatiha. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, walillahi alhamd. Subhanallah, Sultanallah, Nabi Muhammad alayhi salam. A'udhu billahi min shaitan rajim, bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, malika sultan al-awliya. Alhamdulillah. We also want to pray for Shaykh Nazim, his health, give him more power, to be the lion that he is, and to be able to be with Mahdi and Isa alayhi salam, to bring down the kingdom of Shaitan. Shaitan is running scared now. He's tired, and it's time to finish him.
Takbir! Takbir! Takbir!
ومن لا توفيق الفاتحة بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Come in the salat.